Okay guys, we're out in the shop today. We're working on Le Mans. And Joe's here working on his Bonneville. It's up there. There's Joe. He's over there doing brake line stuff. We got the Le Mans in here and we're going to put that on there, that turbo. And Joe's the guy that donated this 400 to us from his under the bench scrap pile at his house. So yeah, that's where Crapbox 2 came from. And so far so good. Now we're going to put that turbo on there. So we're going to make some brackets today to mount that thing. Whoops. I'll move you guys around some. So this is, I'm just going to do a simple, as simple as dirty, ugly, I don't really care, bracket. So right now we got a piece of angle iron right there. We'll neaten that up a little bit. Or maybe we won't. Maybe I'll just sharpen that edge so it cuts me every time I go in there. But so we're clamped, that's kind of where I want that turbo to live, I think. Is right there. So as we make some modifications, I'll bring you guys back periodically. But there's that turbo. I think that's kind of how we want it. The exhaust looks like it's going to be all right coming out of the end of that thing. So we ain't got no light out here either. So you guys gotta bear with me because the lighting in the shop is terrible. There we go. So there it is. The exhaust will come out right there and go right down that hole. So as long as I'm going to try to get a piece of 4-inch pipe in there now, and we're going to test fit this, make sure that's kind of where we want that thing to live, and then we'll start making up some brackets. Okay guys, we bought one of these J-bends. This is what I use for the exhaust stuff. It's like a J-bend. It's a pre-bent deal. We're just going to kind of hold that in there, see what we look like. And see if we're going to have enough length in this before it hits the turn. I hope we do. And it looks like if we cut it, close to that elbow, hopefully that gets us down in the hole. And it ain't too short. Hopefully it's not too short. I don't know, the only way to know, I guess, is to cut that off. So we're going to saw this thing off and take another look at it. Dig the fender some more. Alright guys. Alright guys, we're going to mark this pipe. What I do on these is, instead of like people use tape and whatever, I just put a zip tie backwards so it doesn't zip tight. It doesn't lock. And then I can kind of eyeball it, make sure it's kind of straight the way I want it. And then I can get a line on it. I can just trace that zip tie. Then we'll have a line to follow when we cut this thing. I don't know if you guys want to watch me grind this stupid thing. But I guess I can let you guys watch me cut it. And hopefully this is still too long. Because it sucks if you cut it twice and it's still too short. Then you have problems. So there's our line, and then this thing will just whip right off of there. And I'll get the grinder and make a bunch of noise that you guys don't need to hear. And we'll slice that bad boy off, and we're going to jam it in there and just see how it looks before we get into fabbing some brackets for that thing. Okay guys, there's our slice. We just slice that sucker right off of there. We're going to move over to the car and get another look at this thing. Okay, let me zoom you guys up a little bit so you can see maybe what I see. That's where we're going. I don't know what kind of flares these Chinese turbos have, but I'm just going to weld a V-band straight to that. And then the other half of this V-band will go on my pipe, like that. And then it'll just get V-banded straight to that turbo. So it'll be, I don't know what you guys can see. Can you guys see that? Okay, yeah, you guys can see that. All right, so that's what we're going to have there. And that's going to go get welded, and we'll be good. But for now, I just want to see if our placement is halfway decent, or if it sucks completely, or if this pipe is too short. Which it looks like. With the flange in there. With the flange in there, maybe. It looks like it's a little bit too short, and that's the most I could get out of that. So we might end up band-aiding this pipe together, which I didn't really want to do. But we'll see. I mean, this gives us a little bit more length. It's not terrible. I don't think you guys can see anything, and we're moving our setup, which I didn't want to do either. This needs this needs to be an inch longer, this pipe, and we just didn't have it in that elbow. Wait a minute, does this end longer? Maybe this ends longer. Maybe this ends longer. I don't know. This is kind of where I want it. We need more than an inch, guys. We need a couple inches of that pipe. We're going to have to tack this pipe together and make a longer pipe. I don't know if hopefully you guys can see that, but that's where we're at. That's the straightest length we've had, so most we could get out of it. I guess you guys probably could see that. All right, so that's what we're going to do there. Might adjust that turbo. I kind of want to like it maybe just a little bit lower, but we can't go too much lower because it's going to start giving us problems with the steering. On the exhaust pipe that's going to come into the housing from the bottom, if we wiggle around too much, it's going to start to bite us. But that front pipe fits in there pretty well. I kind of like it. It's going to fit right in there. Now we can come up to here. It's still a little bit short. If that turbo was slid down like half inch, it might be better. I think we're going to do that. We're going to move that turbo down just a little, and then we'll start making up some brackets. Alright guys, I'll bring you guys back once we get some brackets going on here. It'd be nice to have that turbo kind of mounted today. Yeah, okay guys. Alright guys, here's our bracket. I know you guys can't see much, but I'm going to zoom you guys in. We got a bunch of marks there. You don't know what they are, but I think I do. Or I forgot. We're going to remake this thing again. But yeah, so this is where the edge of the turbo sat. The turbo was sitting on top of this, and this was the edge of it. And the flange that goes on here is 5/16 smaller. So we want to leave about 1/4 inch, 5/16. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make a line. It looks like 5/16, about there, I guess. We'll move this up, keep it straight, maybe. We're not going to keep anything straight. It's just going to fall all over the place. It's going to turn into a thorn. I'm glad I'm working on this glass jar. It is our line. Jeez. Alright, so there's our line. We're about 1/4, I think, from there-ish. Which we don't care. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but so we're on the 6 to that. Oh, we're 1/4. Okay. So I'll save the line. And then this flange that I lost. I don't know what I did with the flange. We're gonna find our flange, guys.
Hey, man.
Yeah. Alright guys, here we go. Where are you guys? You guys looking at this thing still, right? Yeah, we're still looking at it. Alright. Well, there's our cut line. So we're going to buzz this off, and then I'm going to save it, because this is going to end up going there. And I'm going to cut along this edge, and I'll cut this, because this piece, this backside angle, is going to become the gusset that goes to here. So we're going to measure this, and we're going to see if that's something that we can just incorporate. So it'll butt up against there, we'll weld it, and then this will be the gusset. And then we'll weld that also. So we're going to do some cutting. I'll bring you guys back. Hopefully, you guys got all that. Alright guys, here we go. This is what we got so far. This is our bracket. Let me zoom you guys out. So in your face. Alright, so these two bolts will go to the head. Alright, that's going to sit like that. At the angle of the Pontiac 400 head. And then this is the collector piece. So this is going to get sitting on here. And we're probably going to flush it to the top. And then that's going to end up at an angle somewhere in there. I'm going to fill in that gap with weld. I didn't know I went so crazy with that. So I don't know if I want it that angled or like a little angled. I think we just need a little cant. And then that's going to weld right to it. And we might build off of this gusset right here. We might make this, like I triangled that way too much. I should have left a little bit more of that on there, but that might be enough too. That might be just fine. Just stick it on there and who cares? We might just do that. You know, just grind that out a little bit and let her sit there, and that'll be that. We'll fill that all up. We'll weld it in, make it look nice. I think that's going to be a good angle. It's on the head and it's like that. It was flat would have worked, but a little bit more would be not so bad either. So I might just cut this back a little bit more. I think that's what we'll do. We'll grind this back a little bit more to tighten all these gaps up. Tighten that gap up that's in there. And it's not terrible, but I'd like to have it little bit tighter. So we're just going to cut this back just slightly. All right, I'll bring you guys back once we start welding some stuff. All right, guys, we're going to do a little tack welding here. We got our piece, one tack on there. I don't trust it yet. So we're going to do another tack here. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. All right, I'm going to trust that one. So this, we get some tack welds on our flange now. I'm going to pull that. We're going to pull that bracket off. Now it's kind of, we're going to bring it back to the car. We're going to take a look at it. We'll probably place the turbo on there. Hopefully those tacks will hold the weight of the turbo without just breaking the thing off. That would be nice. But yeah, there we are. All right, guys, I'm going to bring you guys back in a minute. We're going to go to the car. All right, guys, so here's our bracket. We've got some tacks down there. Hopefully that's enough to hold it. And we're going to put this on the head, and we're going to check to see how our angle looks. That's enough room for the V-band clamp, I think. And as long as our exhaust and everything still fits, we'll burn this in. It's got a little gusset. We might make, I didn't mean to cut so much out of there. I kind of wanted this triangle a little bit further up. But maybe we'll just weld that in and call it a day. I don't know. We're going to see. I'm going to throw this on there. It's going to go right there on those two head bolts. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see what it looks like. We got some hardware here. What am I going to do with my heater hose? I'm going to have to end up doing something else with that also. This bracket's hot. This bracket is very hot. Man. Imagine that. I just welded on the thing and it's hot. I can't see what I'm doing either, guys. I just can't see nothing. Just can't see nothing. Okay, here we go. There we go with that. I guess we can just push that hose down there further. And I have one more bolt somewhere. Yeah, so we're going to use these two bolts in the head to hold this bracket. We might have to, like, maybe triangulate something else. I don't know. That might be. We're going to see how we like it. I'm going to zip this bracket on there. Yep. Somewhere right here, there's another one. Yep. All right, we're going to grab the turbo and we're going to set the turbo down on that flange. Can you guys see the flange? You can't. Here we go. Let me move you guys up a little bit. Get you up in the world. Right there. And now we're going to set the turbo on there and see, like, so the angle of that, because we're going to come across, I don't know how we're going to do the hot pipe yet. I think I'm going to bring them all to the front of the motor and join them into one that's going to come right up into that. Or I might leave this manifold and go back around and then join in to the right side, the left side of the motor, and just come up with one pipe in there. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. We kind of looked at it. I kind of want to get the turbo where it's going to live. Hopefully that works. I don't know. It looks kind of tight to the fender well now, but we'll see in a second. All right, guys, here we go with the turbo. I stuck a couple bolts in the bottom of it, so they're sticking out like dowels. And they're going to go right in those holes and line up, hopefully. If we didn't make everything too long, it should work. We're in the fender. I was afraid of that. We put too much angle on there, guys. Is it still going to work or is it not going to work? Nope, it is going to work. Okay. Can live with that, I think. It isn't that fender well a little bit more than I wanted. It isn't the fender well a little bit more than I wanted. We can slide these holes. We can oblong these and slide this up a little. Or we could just cut it and re-weld it. Move it up a little. Or we could take some of the angle out of it. Let's see what it looks like underneath. Let's go up. Because this is all loose still, so we can just kind of turn that to where we need. And we can adjust everything. Our exhaust pipe looks... I like it. I don't like that it's touching the fender well. But, I mean, it's barely touching. So we could probably just give the fender well just a push with our hand and it'll be good enough as it's barely touching that thing. Let's go up and take a look. Alright guys, I bent that bracket up. I didn't like it was angled down too much and it was touching the fender well, which you guys can't see. Alright guys, I got a light on there for us so we can see what's going on. So this here was, now we have space. I like the space in there. It was rubbing it. I didn't like it rubbing. Plus it was getting a weird angle underneath. So we're going to go up and look But I think I like the placement of this. And there's our bracket. I'll move you guys in. It's ugly looking, but we don't care, man. This car's going to end up LS swapped, I think, anyway. Unless this 400 just runs awesome, and we're going to leave it in there forever, maybe. Then I have an LS3 all built. Twin turbo for something else. Who the fuck knows? But anyway, there's our exhaust flange right down there. So we're going to feed it. We're going to go up in the air and look at this. And we'll paint that bracket and maybe grind it up and make it look a little better than, you know, junkyard special. But maybe not. Maybe we just leave it alone. I don't know. We dropped the turbo twice now. So that thing's survivor. China. Kung Pao. On the ground. Okay. Okay, guys. You guys didn't get to see that because I didn't hit the record button. But anyway, we just welded that thing up. So we're all welded up. We welded in the little corner there. And we're going to have to grind this. We let a pretty good bead on that. That's not bad. We're going to grind it because it's probably going to interfere with this gasket surface. So we'll grind that down a little bit because I don't want it holding anything up. And the back was ugly. So we had to fill in some groove. But that doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit fat, but not bad. I'll take it. And we welded our little gusset corner. And I ain't going to put any more on there because I don't care. That's where we're at. Okay guys, here's our finished bracket. Ground that weld so it didn't interfere. We got it all cleaned up. She's still wet. We're going to stick it on there wet. And we still have our welding helmet on. So we look cool. We don't look cool. We don't look cool. This thing is hot, guys. It's still really hot. That paint is being... This is going to be a baked enamel job. If that shit's enamel, I don't know what it is. But... Alright, here we go. Find your other hole in the head. Right there. Get that thing started. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. What's going on here? Can't find a hole or what? We got her. We got her now, guys. We're going to zip this bracket on there. We'll get a light. Show you guys how awesome this thing is. How ugly it is. How awesome it's going to work. There it is. Let me grab us a light. I'll show you guys that thing. Alright guys, there it is. There's our bracket. Turbo's going to bolt right there to get you guys in the right spot here, maybe. Am I getting the right spot? I don't know. Probably not. There we go. There's our T4 flange. That's going to be where it's at. And yeah, there it is. That's the ticket. Let me give you vertigo first. See, we got one heater hose in the way, and then that exhaust. If you look through there without that heater hose in the way, I mean, without the 3/4 inch heater hose in the way, it's right there. It's in the middle of the, thing. Once that is moved out of there, we're just gonna have to pull that hose very slightly, the lower radiator hose, off to one side, and we got it made. I'm gonna throw that turbo on there, guys, and I'll bring you right back. All right, guys, there's our turbo. We got our bracket made. Here's our bracket. Let me show you guys our bracket. Nice piece of angle iron. We even radiused the edge. It's not fancy. We could have fancied it up some more, but we don't really care. We need this to work, not be fancy. And then we got, so we welded our exhaust flange on. They make a, so this is GT whatever 45. Has a weird, like a 3 1/4 or something, but the 4-inch V-band fits it perfect. So we put that on there and we just welded it. And that was my first time welding stainless with stainless wire and everything in my MIG. And it's ugly, but it worked. I mean, I started getting it down. It looks kind of all right down there at the bottom. But yeah, I mean, it's ugly, but it's not, we're not going anywhere. We got plenty of heat on that thing, so we're good. I ain't gonna sweat it. So right now we're gonna tighten this, tighten the turbo up on this flange. Give it a little snug so it doesn't walk around anymore. We'll figure out what we're doing next. I have an oil line kit for this. Just going to snug these up. We ain't going to go crazy tightening anything yet because we're not ready yet. Give it a little snug, just in case we want to take this for a rip down the road, because we can still drive this car. We can still drive this car. Okay. All right, guys. So there's our turbo. There's our bracket. We have an oil line kit that we're going to put on. I'm going to go grab that. I'll show you guys that. All right, guys. Here's our oil feed line. So this is going to screw on here. Just screw to the turbo on here. That's going to go on there. And all this shit wants to fight. None of it's bent the correct way, like to work. You're gonna end up fighting all this shit. All the shit fights you. See how it's got a massive kink in the line? It's because it wants to be kinked, guys. It wants to have a kink in the line. So we're gonna feed the turbo here, and then on the Pontiac, right down there near the oil filter, there is a port that we're gonna tap into. The oil pressure gauge is in there now. So, but you guys can't see it, but it's right here. We're going to screw this thing in there, which is a little hex. I'll show it to you guys. It's this thing. So this is going to get screwed into the block. It'll feed this. We'll probably cap. They give you a cap. One of these is a cap. It'll give you a cap. And then I think the piece that's screwed into the block right now will screw in here. So we'll still have an oil pressure gauge. So oil will come out. It'll go, well, we might put this, I don't know how this is going to work, but the oil's going to, this is to feed the turbo, and then this will go to a oil pressure gauge, and that's how we're going to do it. I don't know what we're going to do with this. I don't know if I want it in or out, or right on the fender the way it is, maybe. I don't know, I kind of like it, because it kind of just fits there, and we could just leave it sitting against the fender. I kind of like it, so we might just leave that just the way it is. All right, guys, there's our turbo from the underside. We're going to move this hose slightly. We're going to bend this line out of the way. And once we do all that, we have a straight shot at that thing. You guys are seeing a shadow from that line, but it's actually pretty straight up there. I mean, we can sneak probably right to that right now. But we'll probably melt our lower radiator hose. So we're going to have to do something. I don't know if we'll steel protect it or just move it. We might be able to cut the other end shorter and just pull it in some. If we cut it here and wiggle it in and give it a little bit more there. I don't know if we can pull it that much, but that's where we're at. There's that bracket from the underside. Chevy orange up there. Chevy orange bolt. Ooh, it doesn't look like it's tight either. We didn't tighten that bolt. We gotta tighten that bolt. I think it's loose. All right, let me lower us down. We'll talk about it from the top for a minute. Okay guys, there it is from the top. The oil line we talked about. This is gonna be a blow-through setup through the carburetor. So it's going to come out of this. We'll have a boot. It's going to get a 90. And it's going to point directly at that. And that's going to get a carb hat that just gets this. And there'll be a blow-off valve in here somewhere. Which I have to get a blow-off valve and a wastegate still. Which I think I'm just going to drill. I'm going to hole saw this, I think, and just weld it right into the exhaust housing. That's how I did my other one. Seems to work all right. We'll see what happens, though. All right, guys. Like, share, subscribe. See ya.